Hey everybody, how you doing? Welcome back. This is Jim Grzanzio from the Oracle Groundbreakers team. I'm here with Ron Ekins. Ron is one of the speakers at the Oracle Groundbreakers India Yatra, which is a very large conference which has been going on for 2 weeks now and has a few more days. So we'll go into this week and then call it a actually you go on to Wednesday or Thursday of this week. So, and then we'll call it a day for this conference. So, Ron, welcome to the program.
Yeah. Hi, Jim. Nice to meet you. Thanks for having
Nice,
us.
nice to meet you too. We're going. This is like a marathon conference here. We're going into the third week. It's been like 1,000 speakers, 100,000 sessions. I mean, it's just a huge conference. And but I've been reaching out to specifically to new speakers that I haven't ever met before, or I've never done an interview with. And so it's been very good because I've been able to meet a lot of new friends and a lot of new interesting characters in the community. So you're up next. Since we don't really know each other, can you just start us off by giving us a little bit of background of who you are and what you do?
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Jim. Yes. So, Ron Ekins. I work for a company called Pure Storage. I'm in their office of the CTO as the Oracle Solution Architect. So I support the whole of EMEA. So I talk to Oracle customers, Pure prospects, or evangelize Oracle technology inside Pure Storage, and educate the field about why we're a good fit together. Uh, Been using Oracle technology for nearly 30 years. So started originally as a developer using COBOL programming. So I was there pre 2000 bug, and was working on COBOL systems and started using Pro COBOL and Oracle, and been using Oracle ever since. So it's served me well for my career.
Cool. Where in the UK are you?
So I'm in an area of the southeast of England. So if you've ever been to the UK and have heard of Brighton, one of our famous seaside resorts. So I'm not far away from Brighton, on the edge of the South Down. So a town called Havertey.
Okay, I've only been to the UK. Well, I actually have been 3 or 4 times, but only to Manchester. So
Okay.
that's it.
You need to come a bit further south. We're a bit warm here. Manchester's famous for its rain. We're famous
Yeah.
for our beaches.
Good. Okay, cool. So you're talking at this Oracle Groundbreakers India Yatra. Now, Yatra means journey, and this conference certainly has been a journey. Usually, it's a journey in the physical space where you actually travel around to different, cities in India. But now, obviously, it's all virtual. So how did you get involved in this conference?
Okay, yeah. As Oracle Ace, I get sight of all of the conferences globally. And as many Oracle Ace and Ace directors do, we submit papers for different conferences. I guess I've done the Netherlands, I've done Spain, I've done the UK a lot, I've done Finland, I've done Israel. I've never done India, so it's on my bucket list. And I was really hoping to maybe go over there and do maybe 5 of the 10 cities this year, but obviously that
Yeah.
wasn't to be. So it was a great opportunity to maybe dip my toe in, to see what it's like to present to the All India user group, and maybe if they want me, maybe have me back next year and come over there and do it physically. But yeah, so I spoke to lots of places, but never done India.
Yeah, so I've been to India a lot. I've done a lot of work with the All India Oracle User Group at Sangam and Oracle conferences, and
Mhm.
also the Yatra last year. Really a great group. So yeah, next year, the year after, or the year after that, if you can get a chance to go down, that would be really good. Okay, so your talk is called "So You Want to Run an Oracle Database on Kubernetes." And I guess presumably there's a question mark there. So why would I want to do that? What's this talk about?
Okay, so I guess as DBAs, we look at our developer brothers and sisters, and they're embracing Kubernetes, they're embracing Docker, and maybe DBAs are historically a bit more risk averse, a bit more slow moving, slower to react to new technologies. So I wanted to see whether we could run it, whether the DevOps messaging, the CI/CD pipelines that the developers talk about is true for DBAs. And if we can all work on a common platform, it makes that conversation a lot easier.
Why are you said something interesting that I just want to follow up on. Why do you think DBAs are slightly more risk averse?
For DBAs, it's all about the data. It's the DBA's job is to ensure data integrity, data availability, and system performance. We have to make sure that our data is backed up and protected, and we know how to process it. Anything which changes it, we're cautious. Belt and braces. We don't want one way of securing our data. We want two or three. Everything highly available and highly performant. So our job in what we're measured at about is about protecting the crown jewels of the organisation, which is obviously the data.
Interesting. I hadn't looked at it that way, but interesting. Do you? Okay, so let's just get into a little bit. So what are some of the technical issues involved in doing this? So actually, before I start, this is not very common. This is not a very common thing to do.
No, I think it will start changing. But if we roll back 10 years ago, and you'd have had a conversation with DBAs, they would say, I like my physical servers. I can't see it myself running a database on a virtual machine, whether that be VMware or OVM. And slowly people become more comfortable with that technology and realise it works, and it's a good option for many use cases. And then with cloud adoption, use of virtual machines becomes the norm. And I think that'd be the same for Kubernetes and Docker. It's something where maybe the technology hasn't been a natural fit for DBAs. DBAs, we talk about a database living for days, weeks, months, or years. In the container world, containers can live for minutes, days, and weeks.
What do you mean live?
So a container is considered to be stateless. It's disposable. So maybe it's just for a process, maybe just for a short task.
Oh, I see.
Whereas a database, you invest a lot of time in building a database up. So you want it to persist. So it has to be stateful. So the most important thing about a database container is the data, not the container itself. So we want to make sure that our databases, we are running the container, we can spin them up quickly and get the benefits of a containerization solution without the overheads of the virtual machine. But also it has to be secure, it has to be robust. And we have to make sure that when we go back to it, that our data's there.
So what's involved here in doing this? Is it a time-consuming process, or is it relatively straightforward, but people just aren't actually doing it yet in terms of adoption?
So Oracle's been supporting, and it's maybe hasn't been as publicized as other technologies, but Oracle's been supporting Docker for 3 years since Oracle 12.2. So you can go to the Oracle Docker registry or Docker Hub, and you can pull back the Docker image that Oracle provided. And that's great. And that was a place to start because that's a canned solution that you can use today. However, Oracle realized that maybe that was an expensive way of packaging up versions, because every time there is a new release, you have to rework it. Everybody's got a slightly different configuration, different requirement, and then they can't adjust everything. So the developers in Oracle got together and they've built a series of Docker build scripts. So you can go to GitHub, to the Oracle area in GitHub, and you can pull back these build scripts. So you can create all versions of Oracle. And then you navigate to the version you want, and you can run the Docker build scripts for that. So it's fully documented. There's lots of Oracle blogs, lots of ACE Director blogs about how to do this. I've also got it on my blog as well if you want to follow up and read them more.
Is the talk, so it sounds like the talk is specifically for DBAs, but also is it for developers as well, or some combination of both?
Yeah, it's not a database heavy presentation, so it's not about the internals of the database and cost optimizer. There's other people that are covering those sort of topics. This really it spans the DBA, the developer, and the infrastructure team, where we all come together, where it's about creating a platform for us all to be productive. So whether the database is being used by a developer on a test development system, or the DBA is building it and providing it, or the DBA is working with the infrastructure team to make sure that there is a platform that can run Kubernetes or run Docker. Yeah, it's where we all come together.
It's interesting you use that phrase, come together, because the more and more conversations I have in such a short amount of time, I'm hearing things that are sort of similarities in the sense of when you're doing this type of work, you're really working on teams, multidiscipline teams. So some of these, developers have DBA skills. Some of these DBAs have, some developer skills. But whatever ratio that's in, you still have to work on these systems within teams with other people. Like in this case, DBAs and developers. That's just standard, right?
Yeah, I think it's becoming more common as well. And I look back through my long career working with Oracle technology, and historically, I think we've all worked in silos.
Right, exactly.
So there would have been the DBA team, and they would only be interested in the database, and the storage team looked after their thing, and the network guys did whatever they did all day long, and there was very little visibility. So we know that the DBAs had, we'd all work together and we'd have our own automation to do database cloning and stand-up environments. And the network guys would have some rules and scripts to build firewalls. And then the storage guys would be able to create volumes and manage their platforms, and the server guys. I think with automation now, with full stack automation, what we're seeing is developers, DBAs, sysadmins all come together to develop full stack automation, full stack deployments. And actually, when we build a platform, the infrastructure team and the DBA team combine their knowledge to actually make sure that the server and the configuration delivers what the DBA wants, rather than saying, there's a cookie cutter, now you do what you want afterwards. I think, and that's a big change. Rather than having silos of automation, we're having full stack automation that everyone collaborates to.
Yeah, I don't know how you can survive in silos, because things get awfully brittle if you're in silos. I mean, if something breaks, you don't. So if you're not mixing with other teams, if you don't have at least some awareness of the operation that is going on around you that involves you, I think that's just actually makes it up for a very, very brittle organization. So it's good to hear. It's good to hear that these teams are mixing.
I think that leads into a blame culture as well.
Yeah.
It's it's always the team over there's fault. It's the storage guy's issue. It's the network guy's issues. And you think, well, actually, we're all the same department here, guys. For the customer, they don't see that there's 4 teams here. They just see it's the IT team. And I think with DevOps, and people focus lots on DevOps on the development side, but it is development and operations. And for as much it's tools and it's process and culture as well. And I do a talk where I talk about sort of DevOps. And one of the things that I always say is we have to change the way we look at problems and look at maybe rewarding, acknowledging achievements. So maybe DBAs were rewarded for keeping a database secure and highly performant, and the developers were rewarded for creating new features. So then there is a tension. So when the developers have a new feature, they want to put it live because that's what they're going to get rewarded on. But the DBAs are a bit, has it been fully tested yet? Have you gone through change control? What if it makes my database go slow? So there is always a bit of tension there, a bit of a conflict to actually making sure that it's the famous photo, the DevOps photo with the young girl with the fire behind. It's someone else's problem. The developers throw it over the fence, and the operations guys have to pick it up. When you actually share those common goals, and you're both rewarded on availability, you're both rewarded on delivering new features, then you start working together. You rather than just say, no, you can't go live with that this month, or you've got to put it live because the business needs this, and that, I've got the magic ticket that's going to push it straight through, and then you live with a problem in production. Suddenly you both have a common way of working. So I think for all we do from a technology point of view, the biggest changes that we can do to improve our availability and our security is through the culture, it's the way of working together.
All right. And that's a human issue. You mentioned earlier that you're an Oracle ACE director. So what's that like? What kind of what's your how does how do you interact with that community?
Okay, yeah, it's a very satisfying and a great honour to be part of this wonderful community. So I've been using Oracle technology for 30 years. I got involved with the Oracle user group shortly after I started using Oracle technology, more as an attendee going to physical events, if you can remember what they were. So we used to go to physical events and I'd hear speakers, and eventually thinking, yeah, I think I've got a story here. I think I'm doing something quite interesting. So I spoke to some of the people that run the special interest groups and said, you know what, when there's a next event, you know, I'd like to maybe do a short 10, 15-minute presentation. I don't think a 50-minute, 45 minutes, it sounds a bit overwhelming. So you dipped my toe in slowly and said, yeah, I'll do a small sort of small segue presentation, and did that, and then it was well received, and I realised I got a lot out of it. And then I started to get more involved and do full presentations and join the committees that put the agendas together. And I've been part of the UKG now as a volunteer for over 20 years. This year I was responsible for the database technology stream at the UK Oracle User Group. It's very well attended. It's a very big event in the UK, very successful. And I've got involved in the Oracle ACE program as an Oracle associate, and then I got promoted to an Oracle ACE, and for the last couple of years I've been an Oracle ACE director. So it gives me a great, it's a family of people. It's all about community. So we go to different events. I say as an ACE director, it's given me the opportunity not just to speak in the UK, but to speak across countries in Europe, which I may not have gone without the ACE program. So I've been to, last year I went to Israel, went to Bulgaria, went to Norway for the Norwegian Oracle User Group. You know, a fantastic opportunity. Their conference is on a boat that sails from Oslo out towards Germany and back again.
The conference
so
is on
very different. You know, going to Israel is a very different experience. I'd imagine it's very similar to being to India. So across Poland as well, very different to Amsterdam. So lots of different experiences, lots of great opportunities. And when you go to these events, it's quite often we see the same Oracle ACEs and ACE directors and Oracle employees. So we have a bit of family, and we share a beer in the evening, and we talk about our day. We talk about new technology. But actually, during this lockdown period, you know, we're sharing Zoom sessions. We're actually missing seeing each other, because we normally see each other at these community events, and we're not having that. So there is a community outside of the physical events where the ACEs and ACE directors share a beer and talk about their day, and talk about maybe sometimes it's nothing about the content that we're doing at conferences. It's just about the human interaction and saying, you know, how are you keeping? You know, are you working? Are you keeping well? And it's been, I think it's been really positive for many people that they don't feel so isolated working from home.
Yeah, that's sounds like you get a lot from the community, you know, contributing to the community. And, you know, there's over 400, I think it's about 450 or so ACEs now. So when you go to events, you're not going to see all 400, obviously. You're always going to see like a different mix of people. So over time, you go to 10, 15, 20 events over a couple of years, you're going to see a lot of the same people. As you can also see a lot of new people, you know, just because the community is, you know, big enough. And
yeah, I think it's important to say as well that it's a very much it's a living community. Mm-hmm. Every year you have to demonstrate your continual contribution to the community. So you can't say I did something 5 years ago and maybe your job's changed or your priorities have changed at home, and you're just you're part of that. You know, everyone that's involved in the community does something all the time. So whether that is through their local user groups, or they produce blog content or write books, we're all actively producing content. And for someone that lives and breathes the Oracle community and also the Oracle technology for my job, it's a great program. Last year I went to Oracle Open World. I've been for a couple of years, and we went and saw the briefing before Oracle Open World. So we had Oracle product managers talk about what's coming up, what's going to be announced in Oracle Open World. And it's so you talk about, when I go to events across Europe, I do see lots of the same Oracle ACEs and ACE directors. But going to the US, there was a whole load of new people I've never met before. Right. And I guess if I went to India, if I went to Singapore, Australia, it'd be the same again. Because sometimes we all come to Oracle Open World, but most events we only travel so far.
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing, I think about two-thirds of the interviews for this conference have been, well, maybe about, actually, maybe about half have been with Oracle Aces, and I think I only know one or two. They're all new, so, actually new to me. So
Yeah.
that's really, really good. Um, all right, Ron. Well, thank you very much for coming by. It's really good to talk to you. I'm glad we had a chance to talk about your talk. Your talk is upcoming, or you've already done it?
No, I've done mine. So I did.
Okay,
I did my talk. Yeah, I was really impressed with the number of people turned up for it. So that was.
cool.
So thank you very much for taking the time to watch that video. It's going to be uploaded into the conference's library, so that's going to be there forever. I think it was, hundreds of people on the interactive Zoom session with lots of
Cool.
feedback in the chat box, and then I don't know how many people were watching that because it was also streamed live on YouTube.
Right,
So
exactly. It was
you got
streamed.
no idea how many people were
Yeah.
watching it, but it was very well attended. So which is
Yeah.
always a great pleasure, because for me, what I try to do with a presentation to make it interesting. It's a topic which I'm stretching myself on,
Really.
so it's a great way of learning that topic.
Learning it. Right.
And when you get a question you don't know, that's another learning opportunity. So I don't go there as the person who knows everything. I've researched that paper, and hopefully I get a chance to replay that presentation a number of times, different events, different audiences, and tune it and learn each time to get feedback from the audience. So it's a two-way communication. So and I think that's maybe one of the things that speakers are struggling with slightly, is when we go to a conference, we have an engagement, a personal engagement with the attendees.
Mhm.
And we're always there, lunchtime, breakfast, evening meals, dinners, drinks, to have that conversation. And one thing that the committee put on over the weekend was meet the speakers sessions, which was great. So myself and three other Oracle Aces, we got on a Zoom over the weekend, and wasn't really about our talks. It was our journey to being Oracle Aces. It was who we are, what we do, and was taking questions from the delegates. I think one thing the delegates have missed out this year is the idea they have selfies. They like to have selfies with the speakers. So
Yes.
I'm going to have to come back next year so that I can have some selfies done.
This whole culture of the selfies, which has been around for a while, but it takes on an altogether different level in India. With Sandesh as sort of the leader of the selfies, and it's quite addictive, So you get these thousands and thousands of cell phone images, like this, and but it is highly attractive, and it's very nice to cut across language and culture barriers. I learned this. I used to do community building for Sun on the Open Solaris project. This is a long time ago. And one of the things I learned with photography, even more than video, which is just a simple image, right? That everybody loves photography. Everybody loves the image of that one split second of that one moment. It cuts across language and culture barriers so beautifully for the purpose of building community, which is ultimately a social exercise. So yeah, no, the selfies are good, and so maybe next year. So, all right, Ron, it's great talking to you. Interesting conversation as always, and we will see you at some conference somewhere live.
Yeah, I would say we'll see you at Openwell, but that's going to be virtual as well. So maybe we'll have another chat in September.
Let's just think in terms of next year.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, maybe Vegas 2021.
Thanks a lot. Be good. Bye bye now.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. Bye-bye.
Bye.